I'm in the final three of my one guillotine league.
I'm not.
Uh,
I'm not. Good morning, Sports Insanity Network fans. It's Mark Goldovsky
uh,
Alpin here for the Sports Insanity Network. I'm sorry, I got a little twisted up. I did not see us. Good morning, Sports Insanity. Not see us
there's
get
it. I
connected
love the
there.
echo.
Now that we're here, why are we here? We're here for our Week 11 recap. We have a little bit of a different crew. It's usually Mike Rifkin and myself. Mike is on AWOL this week. He does not want to be found, and we're not actually looking for him, so we're okay. I got the actual royalty of the group. I got the president himself, Lawrence Patchman Lang. Good morning, Prez.
Oh, good morning. Back out from the hole for another day for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, you being on the network on a couple of times in the last few weeks, it's a rarity.
So
It's like pulling a 101.
you know what? It's winter. I like to be home. I like no, it's winter now. It's cold out. Like granted, it's still fall if you want to go by technical standards, but
Mm,
gotta come out of the hole now every once in a while to get the stink off.
absolutely. And not a better day to be joined, and it's also awesome. You get the vice president, Danny Boy Reginald, here for the Week 11 recap show. Morning, Dan. How are you?
I'm all good. Just finishing up this turkey sandwich. I also have some Greek yogurt here. Nice little breakfast, before the day starts.
There you go. A little carb and protein. There you go. Interesting combo. So we're here to talk about week 11, and we had some ups, we had some downs, we had some prizes, but we're gonna go backwards. We're gonna start off with the Monday night game, which saw the Dallas Cowboys beat the Las Vegas. It's so funny to say it. The Las Vegas Raiders 33-16. Dak Prescott, 25 of 33, four touchdowns, 268 yards. Javonte Williams, 93 rushes on 22 carries. The guy couldn't get in the end zone, killed me. George Pickens, 9 receptions for 144 and a touchdown. Geno Smith got sacked 5 times, and that's a huge thing because two of them, sorry, one and a half came from Quinion Williams, Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Good.
that's more than he had all of last year.
I'm happy for him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good
Uh,
stuff.
the only thing really positive for the Raiders in this game was Brock Bowers had a nice return at 7 receptions for 72 yards. Patch, this was the first game where we see, as much as we know Patch does not like to talk about the Cowboys, but this is the first game we've seen the Cowboys offense really click on all cylinders.
Well, no, I'm gonna give credit where credit's due. Cowboys looked great. Negative, you played the Raiders. Raiders are trash. No offense to Raider Nation, but the
Mm.
Raiders are not that good of a football team. So essentially, it's like, oh, hey, yes, okay, we'll use the Bills, the Bills as an example. Okay, the Bills played Miami. Miami's not a good football team. The Bills blow Miami out because the Bills are a better team than Miami. Granted, this year's different, right? Because the Bills are playing, you're hot and you're cold, and it's a yes or a no. But it's a very good team that's on paper beat a really bad team on paper.
Katy
Like,
Perry.
like, yeah. I got a Katy Perry. I got a Katy Perry reference in there. I'm glad someone caught on to that. But I mean, Cowboys look great. They look like what they should be. But let's obviously, I'll say this. Let's see what happens when they play the Lions. I don't know if they play the Lions this year. If they played
They
them
do
already.
in 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay, so 3 weeks. I'll give them the tail of the tape of can these Cowboys beat the Lions, which are the heavily favored NFC favorite
I don't know.
behind the
And
Eagles.
well, we'll see. We'll see that. Dan, Dallas Cowboys come out, and more impressively, it wasn't just the offense. The offense and the defense played well. Yes, mind you, it was the Raiders.
And that's it. The fact of the matter is
Oh, I know.
that, it's not to, you know, It's not trying to rain on your parade, Mark. It's a good win. You should beat the Raiders. This should be an easy win. Win, beat them. But the Raiders are terrible. They've shown you what they are at this point. Um, you have an offense that is lifeless. You get no production out of your receiving core. The quarterback is regressed since last season. I'll tell you that much. Um, Defense is horrible, and then of course you have this Dallas team. Obviously, this were Dallas maybe like a few weeks ago. Maybe this is a competitive game, but this is a Dallas team with new weapons on both sides. You have a rejuvenated coaching staff too, because now they have more pieces in place. And they took advantage. It's a great situation for Dallas. I think that they're in a very good spot, to really take off. Hopefully they make a run. It's gonna be really tough in terms of the playoffs, but they're not like completely down. That's why they made these moves at the trade deadline. Obviously, for the future, you hold on to Quinn Williams for a little while longer, but it is about the win now. And obviously, if it doesn't happen this year, you guys are set up for next year. It's a great situation for Dallas right now. You should beat the Raiders. They're terrible. They're not a good team.
And they're right. If Dallas lost this game, then there would be a lot more to answer to. Dallas will have their shot at the Eagles again this Sunday at 4:25 prime time game yet again. And I'm still paying for an NFL network that I have not used. Moving on, the New York Jets faced off against the division rival New England Patriots, and everything started off pretty good as the Jets were leading in the first quarter. Justin Fields, 15 to 26, 116 yards and a touchdown. He also was the leading carrier with 67 yards and a touchdown. And John Mechie, 3 receptions, 45, and was the receiver of that touchdown. Drake May, 25 to 34, 281 and 1. Trey Henderson, 62 yards, but 2 touchdowns on the day. And Stephon Diggs, besides having more kids than Tyreek Hill, had 105 yards on 9 receptions.
Listen,
The Jets don't.
He's not on Philip Rivers numbers yet.
No, he's not on Philip Rivers numbers yet. We'll worry about that. Dan, as you are the resident Jets fan, the Jets opened up pretty strongly, but it all fell apart in the second quarter.
Really, the first quarter when the defense allowed the Patriots offense to drive right down the field for the answered touchdown. That's when you knew the game was over. It would be one thing if the Jets they score this opening drive touchdown. It's very impressive. And then they stopped the Patriots defense. They got off the field because at that point, and look, maybe it was always over. Maybe it was a fake opening drive that got the Jets excited. But you never know. Like, what if they stop the Patriots? We're talking about something different here. Look, this was expected. What they lose by nearly 2 touchdowns, which for most betting odds, that was probably around there. So expected. I'm not mad. I'm not disappointed. You know how some people be like, "Oh, I'm not mad. I'm disappointed." No, like disappointed in what? The team's not going to the playoffs. You know, the only thing that I will get on with this head coach, Aaron Glenn, is the Justin Fields, and he responded to that the week later. He benched him because Justin Fields is no longer something that we can evaluate. He is who he is too. He's not good, not a professional NFL quarterback. I think he's a great athlete, just not as a quarterback. Um, and if it is as a quarterback, it won't be with the Jets. So, nice guy. Feel bad. He's not the guy. We got to evaluate the team for the future because look, it's Justin Fields. He had 100 yards passing, 100 yards plus. Was it 116, something like that?
Yes.
You're not going to win games with that. And you're also not going to evaluate the roster with that. Even if you don't win games, you got to evaluate your roster for the future. Because that's what it's about. It's about what the Jets are later on, not what the Jets are now.
Patch, New England moves to 9-2. Drake May had an amazing day. Your take on this game?
Once again, it's a superior team playing against a bad team. The Jets, obviously, we want obviously the state of the metropolitan area and a little bit of upstate New York want to see the Jets be successful. But, unfortunately, the Jets right now are in that endless cycle of there's hope. You get hope. You win 1 or 2 games out of 5 in the beginning of the season. Okay, you're 2-3. Hey, there's possibilities here. And then it's the downward spiral of the crashes and burns. And then, you're in the endless repeat cycle of hope. Hey, there's hope. Hey, we might be good. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, my God. Here we go again. And I want the Jets to be good again. I miss the days where, they had that back-to-back AFC championship appearance many moons ago. And then it seems certain plays have made them cursed. And I still state that ever since the butt fumble, that that was the beginning of the downward spiral of the New York Jets. And also, they live in the shadow of the Giants. Like they don't have their identity right now. Haven't had it for a while. Because, as we've had numerous conversations on this network, the Jets need their own identity and get them away from MetLife and just build them a new stadium. Yeah. To me, that is, I think, a key point because, okay, you share a stadium with the Giants. That's cool. Okay, less traffic on game day, if, God forbid, they both had a same home game on the same day in 2 stadiums, traffic would be horrendous. And then you throw in everybody else playing too in the New York area, New York City area. But, I think I discussed this last week that the Patriots are going to win this division, in my opinion. They're just hungry, and like I say, the Bills are what they're doing right now, where the Bills should be winning football games and not dancing in the dandelions or the lilies, the sunflowers, whatever kind of flower you want to put out there. They're just going to hand the New England Patriots the division and say, all right. And then it's going to be, oh, God, here it goes again with this New England Patriots. And then everybody in the AFC East are going to be like, oh, here we go again for the next 50 years.
I know a particular person who would not like to see that happen.
Nate Moser, we're talking about you. We're sorry, buddy. And Mike Rifkin, too. And Dan, too,
Yeah.
because we have an entire AFC East fan base in this.
Speaking of Mike Rifkin, his favorite team, the Miami Dolphins, pulled out a squeaker against the Washington Commanders this past weekend, 16-13, on an overtime winning field goal.
Across the pond.
Tua Tagovailoa, 14-20, 171 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. My guy Don Amici, 120 yards, 21 carries. It's Devon A-Chain. I just have the name. And Jalen Waddle, 52 yards. Deebo Samuel with the lone touchdown for the Commanders. And Mariota, threw for 213 yards. For a team that lost, Jaden Daniels has lost pretty much chunks of this offense and chunks of this defense to injury. I mean, this goes to show you how much of a new stadium they need and, how that stadium is cursed. And it takes the lives of players. Dan, we've seen it on firsthand. But the Miami Dolphins end up squeaking this one out.
Yeah. Look, I mean, the Commanders didn't play terrible. They're faced it. Look, it's a toilet bowl. It's one bad team versus another bad team. The Commanders played fine. No turnovers until or at least no interceptions until overtime. So that's something to look out for. I thought Mariota played fine. Obviously, you feel horrible because he wanted to drive the Commanders down the field for a score, and the Dolphins made a good play. They read the offense perfect in that spot. Um, Dolphins get lucky. They were able to get that ball, and all they gotta do is drive down for a field goal. They didn't waste any time with that. So, credit. It was a good back and forth match. Usually these international games are uh duds, and this time around it was actually pretty competitive. Both sides wanted it a lot. The Dolphins obviously wanted it more, and what you're getting is a Commanders franchise that has taken a massive step back. Look, they're decimated with injuries. There's really no other explanation other than that. If they had their full roster, I don't know what they look like per se, but they definitely are not this. So obviously, this year is about getting a draft pick. They're gonna probably retool part of their defense. They need a running back and a true number one RB. Um, I think the receivers are set as long as they're healthy. Maybe you get an offensive weapon too, but it's retool time so that they can get back to playoff status. And also making sure Jaden Daniels is protected at all times and stuff. Um, but yeah, good game out of Mariota. And as for the Dolphins, take advantage when you can. Boom, score some touchdowns, get that game-winning field goal. It was awesome.
Patchy.
Yeah, it's a gutsy win by, Miami. Miami's another team that, is hot and cold right now. And, we want to see them be successful. I will say this, saves Mike McDaniel another week of being a head coach.
I think he's going to be a head coach next year.
So
Could,
I think
could we
so
be
too.
talking like an Aaron Boone situation here?
Yeah,
Well, minus the GM.
Don't get me
And
started with the Yankees.
yeah, and it's not because Mike McDaniel deserves to be head coach, because I don't think he does. I think he should be fired.
Too,
It's
but
because I think the Dolphins believe in him.
I
yeah, but
mean,
yeah,
it, if you have leadership that believes in you, that's good. But if it's not transitioning to wins, how much can you?
I'll let the Dolphins be a train wreck while the Jets are trying to actually build the future.
Well, we do know that some games give you low expectations, but the next game had high expectations as two veterans were getting ready to face off between Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers in Pittsburgh, where Pittsburgh Steelers won 34-12. However, Aaron Rodgers left this game with a left wrist fracture.
Mm.
He was replaced by none other than Pittsburgh Steeler great Mason Rudolph, who came in and threw 12 for 16 and a touchdown, 127 yards. Aaron Rodgers has a left wrist fracture. It's obviously not on his throwing hand. However, Pittsburgh is not ready to put him up on the shelf. Patch.
I mean, I will know. Hopefully, a certain how do I word this? Certain injection to help him. We'll go with to help ease pain. Will get him excited and into the We'll go like wrestling fans know prime Kurt Angle. Like we'll get prime Aaron Rodgers. Wink, wink. And maybe we'll see that big comeback of Aaron Rodgers like he did against the I think it was the Lions a couple years ago when he became prime Rodgers. But remember, kids, don't do drugs.
There's a reason Why?
The man should have retired. I'm sorry. I love Aaron Rodgers, always will, but yeah, unfortunately, him tearing his Achilles couple years ago, I think, was the downward spiral of Aaron Rodgers.
Uh,
At least with Favre, Favre was just old, and then Favre made okay. Grant Rodgers is old too, but regardless,
um,
with Favre, when Favre threw that interception in Minnesota, in that game in Minnesota to cost them going to the Super Bowl, Favre knew, okay, I'm done. Rodgers is like, I'm just gonna keep milking this cash cow till I can no more, and if I go off on the field on a stretcher, I go off on the field on a stretcher. Be the best Aaron Rodgers example ever.
I look, I laugh at the Steelers not committing to Mason Rudolph because they want Rodgers out there. I know his broken wrist is not on the throwing hand, so technically you can make it work. I'm telling you, the people keep calling me crazy. People think it's the Aaron Rodgers derangement syndrome and all that stuff. You know, it's me being mad at him because he made the Jets look awful. Like, no, like he's old, bro. He's old. And okay, he has a broken hand in his non-throw. That's not gonna heal quicker than when he was 25 years old, 30 years old. No. Like the reality is Pittsburgh did this to themselves. They're not that good of a team. They got lucky in this game.
As the old saying goes, they're just a 500 team.
Like
Or
they're not that good, bro. So, that they had all these expectations with Rodgers. Oh yeah, we're gonna run the North. We're gonna go to the playoffs, which could obviously very well be the case. Watch out for Baltimore, though. You guys will get to that in a second. I gotta head out. But no, they are bad. They're not good. They're not good. And the reason why they don't want to go Mason Rudolph because they don't want to expose themselves. Though I will say Rudolph actually played very well.
Yeah,
In the-
he
in
did. He played
that-
error-free football.
So maybe they do have something with him to get by until he gets back. I don't know. Like I don't see much from this Pittsburgh team. You see what they are. They're not great. They're bullies against teams that are horrible. They suck against teams that are better than them. Like you see the pattern. That's where I stand with the Pittsburgh Steelers. I do have to leave.
All right, Danny boy, have
Fun.
a good day at work.
All right. Take care.
Yep. So moving on, Dan's on his way out. Now it's just me and the Patchman. A game that should have been easily decided was actually a flip-flop with the Los Angeles Chargers and the Jacksonville Jaguars, where the Los Angeles Chargers were highly favored in this game. But Justin Herbert didn't show up, losing 35-6. Herbert, 10 of 18, 81 yards and an interception. The worst performance he has put up in the National Football League. Trevor Lawrence, 14 of 22, 153. Brian Tootin tooting his way down for 74 yards and a touchdown, and Jacoby Myers with 5 for 64. Patch, this was a good win for a Jaguars team that had a horrible loss the prior week.
yeah, it's a bounce back win. Yeah, it's a bounce back win for the Jaguars because the Jaguars are another team where they're hot for 2 weeks and then they get a bad stretch of games and then they're looking at the outside of the playoffs. To me, Trevor Lawrence is bounced back, back from his Urban Meyer days where, that was probably one of the worst head coaching hires in the last 25 years. But maybe behind putting Jeff Saturday in there as a replacement coach for the rest of the season. No offense to Jeff Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
But, to me, the Chargers just played a bad football game for a week.
I mean, they
It's a bad
announced
game.
that Yeah, it was when you see a loss like that, it kind of makes you wonder what the heck went wrong. And it's just, like Pat says, you're gonna have a bad game here or there. Chalk it up to that, grill it up, eat it, and move on is how you got to deal with it. But we'll see how Justin Herbert bounces back. Talk about bouncing back and forth. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Buffalo Bills faced off in a great game up until the second half, um, in which the Buffalo Bills came ahead 44-32, moving to 7-3 right behind the New England Patriots. Josh Allen, 19 of 30, three touchdowns, two interceptions, 317 yards. Jonathan Cook, only 16 carries, 48 yards. Baker had another good game, 16 of 20. Sorry, he's 16 of 28, one touchdown, one interception, and Tucker on the ground, 106 yards and two TDs. What game was definitely needed for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers was really taken over by Buffalo in the second half, as it was a really close game in the first half.
It was back and forth. It was as you knew that game wasn't going to be a defensive game like we saw against Green Bay and Philly a couple weeks ago. Yeah, you knew it was going to be just a shootout of a score because you have two talented quarterbacks, Josh Allen and Baker, where both of them are going to sling the ball down the field and get the ball in the end zone. And you saw it with Josh Allen Josh Allen just boom down to the end zone.
And Josh Allen is a true born leader. I think he's always will be in the discussion of MVP, as he clearly is not only just the face of this team, he is a true on charge leader on the field, and something Buffalo hopefully won't waste. If you understand where I'm getting at with that, unfortunately, because there's only going to be so much longer that he's going to be able to do this.
Yeah. As time is ticking, as they say.
Yeah. Moving over into Patch's division, the NFC North, we had a good football game between the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears. Chicago Bears come away again, still eked out a win, 19-17, with Caleb Williams going 16 of 32 for 193 yards. DeAndre Swift, 21 carries, 90 yards. JJ McCarthy, 16 of 32, an interception. Two interceptions and a touchdown. And the former Packer, Aaron Jones, 70 yards on the ground. And Justin Jefferson, again, kept under 80 yards again. Patch, what we see for Minnesota is a team with a lot of potential. And I think they traded away they didn't trade away. They let the quarterback who should be throwing on the field go to Seattle.
Well, one hit wonders, as they say. It's good to see the Vikings back in reality. No offense to anybody that's a Minnesota Vikings fan, but now your team is back in reality where you realized, oh, we done fudged up. Sorry, Minnesota. It's okay. It's okay to be a one-hit wonder. Look at Rick Astley and Never Give You Up. Great one-hit wonder. You got Tequila. One-hit wonder. There you go. That's what you might need. You just might need some tequila to get yourself through the day. It's okay. And screw the Bears.
And screw the
And screw the Bears.
And screw the Bears.
And screw the Bears too, because the Bears are going to... I can't wait for the Bears to crash and burn too, and it's back to Green Bay and Detroit being the division heavyweights. Because right now this should still be Detroit's division. And you know what? If you're winning football games, it's the NFL. You're supposed to win football games. And sometimes you get a little lucky patch and you go, 10-6 or 10-7.
The Bears defense held up. The question is, will they be able to hold up on stronger teams?
Yep.
Now, talking about a team that, should beat up on little teams, but they were minus their quarterback. The Houston Texans beat the 1-9 Tennessee Titans 16-13, but with unfortunate loss with Davis Mills was in, and he didn't look great. 41 passes, 274 yards and a touchdown. But for a team that was going up against the Titans, this should have been a much easier victory, not as close as it was.
You gotta love football. You know that. You know, it sucks for CJ Stroud because he had that great rookie season, and now he's just like a whale in water. He comes up for air, then goes back down. Comes up for air, you peak a little bit, then you go down. Happens. And I want Tennessee to be good too. Granted it's the first season for Cam Ward, and he has to adjust a little bit, but Cam Ward is just struggling right now in Tennessee.
Cam Ward, I think, was thrown into a losing situation as Will Levis was supposed to be the starter, but at the last, preseason game, he tore his ACL and was out, and that thrusted Cam Ward. Mind you, yes, Heisman winner, top pick in the draft, but it thrusted him into an offense that he wasn't ready to learn.
Well, we with the exception, I would say, of Baker Mayfield. Look at the Browns. Always in that conversation of first overall pick, second overall pick, third overall pick. They draft a quarterback they think is the future, and then it just turns into oh, you went to Cleveland. We know the scenario in Cleveland, and obviously Baker right now is doing better things down in Tampa Bay after getting out of Cleveland. There was hope in Cleveland with him. It peaked a little bit, and then it was like, Baker needs to get out.
Baker Mayfield definitely has done better down in Tampa than he has ever done in Cleveland. Speaking of a team that has quietly done things and is on the rise, the Carolina Panthers won a shootout with the Atlanta Falcons, 30-27. Bryce Young, 31 of 45, 448 yards, 3 touchdowns. They took the run game out and they let him go wild. Rico Dowdle only with 45 yards on the day, and Ted McMillan, 8 receptions, 130 yards, and 2 touchdowns. His best game as a rookie. Probably Bryce Young's best game in his young career, Patch.
Yeah, Bryce Young's been in a situation down in Carolina where it looks like the Panthers have hope. And then it's another scenario where Carolina just since the Cam Newton days have either been okay, decent, or absolute horrendous trash. But this season, it seems like Bryce Young is finally coming into being an NFL quarterback, where he had the I'm not starting last season. Okay, I'm a starter. I'm not a starter. Okay, I'm going to be thrown in a blown out to see if there's still hope here in Carolina for me. If not, I need to go somewhere else. And finally, it looks like things are starting to click for him. And the Panthers might look at a wild card spot if they can, win out the season. I don't know where they stand right now in the division off the top of my head. But there seems now to be hope in Carolina. The Carolina Panthers beat the Packers, where the Packers should have absolutely thrown them into the lion's den and had the lion eat the Panther.
So the Carolina Panthers sit at 6-5, right behind the 6-4 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Right now, the Carolina Panthers are a half game behind in the division. Quietly. Quietly. And the reason why I say quietly is because usually when you're bringing up the Carolina Panthers, and mind you, this is no offense, it's just how it really is, you're not always hearing the good. It's always something bad, but quietly, this team is starting to impress. This was an impressive win against the Atlanta Falcons. Unfortunately, the Atlanta Falcons lose Michael Penix for the year. Kirk Cousins will be taking over as quarterback. We know Mike Rifkin is doing the truffle shuffle as Mike Rifkin is totally in love with Kirk Cousins. They're not going to like that in Atlanta. He's not going to do very well. Moving on to a game that should not have been as close as it was. And sticking with the NFC North, the Green Bay Packers beat up the New York Giants 27-20. but in a game that was much closer than it should have been. Jameis Winston starting for Jackson Dart due to the fact that he's still in concussion protocol. 19 to 29, 201 and an interception. Tyrone Tracy had a nice game with 88 yards on the ground, and Isaiah Hodgins 57 yards on 5 receptions. For the Packers, Jordan Love, who really looked off throughout most of this game, 13 to 24, 174 and 2 touchdowns, and Romeo Doubs with 4 receptions. And let's call it out here, Micah Parsons, 1.5 sacks, but against the Giants, that's not hard to get. Patch, what was going wrong? Oh, also, sorry, I apologize. Josh Jacobs also left this game with what they said was a left knee contusion, and that he is day to day. He is not being put on IR as of right now. Patch, even with the loss of Brendan Jacobs, excuse me, even with the loss of Josh Jacobs, this Packers team looked blah. It just did not look electric.
Once again, it's coming in overconfident against a team that we should blow out of the water. And, finally letting Jordan Love just sling the ball instead of, doing all this conservative bull crap. Finally, it looked like in the second half, the Packers finally, we're starting to do Packer football things. Get the football down the field, not this conservative BS, which I preach about every fluffing week. Stop being conservative. Go put up points. Blow a team out of the water, not this BS malarkey. Also, it's the Giants. The Giants are now, they're not playing with house money. They're not going to the Super Bowl. We're hitting the reset button again. And then, hey, we're playing for nothing the rest of the season. Let's just go play spoiler the rest of the season. And that's what it was. Also, we need a kicker. Granted, you could throw wind in there for something from last Sunday, but these games being decided by the way they are due to kicking. It's not on Jordan Love. Like, people want to blame Jordan Love for. Also, a lot of drop passes. Jordan Love gets the ball in your hands. What are you supposed to do? Catch the fluff in football. Don't drop it. Oh, no, that's Jordan Love's fault. He should have been better with the football. No, he got the football in your hands, and you didn't catch the football. Catch the football. That's the name of the game, football. You're supposed to catch the football, run the football. Granted, running game is what it is, but, catch the football. Dobbs, 2 hands on football, not Bring the football into your chest, not this.
That NFC North will come down to the Detroit Lions and the Green Bay Packers.
It's gonna the Bears are gonna probably. I bet you the Bears play spoiler and they win the division somehow.
I don't know. It's going to be a very close race, and you can't rule out Minnesota yet, but they're going to be in last place coming into that division. Moving on to the quarterback who should have been in Minnesota, played in probably one of the best games this just past weekend when Seattle Seahawks took on the Los Angeles Rams. Rams won 21-19, moving to 8-2. Matthew Stafford 15 to 28, 130 yards, 2 touchdowns. Kyren Williams 91 yards on the ground on 12 carries and a touchdown. And Puka Nacua, I love saying that name, 7 receptions for 75 yards. Sam Darnold had a horrible day, unfortunately. 29 to 40.
Bad games happen.
Yes, 29 to 44. 4 interceptions and 279 yards. Kenny Walker, 67 yards and a touchdown. And Jackson Smith-Njigba, another 100-yard game performance. Mind you, this game was so close, and it came down to the last minutes. You got to hand it over to Sam Darnold as a professional for staying in it no matter how bad he was doing.
As the old saying goes, for the John Cena mentality, never give up.
The Rams, on the other hand, they controlled the offensive side of the ball, and their defense kind of held them together at the end, only eking out that win. Is the Rams the best defense in football right now?
Maybe. I would still think, Philly has a great defense. We saw that against the Packers. Eagles, Philadelphia, Eagles. No, no. Well, I said the Phillies. Eagles, I think, have one of the best defenses in the leagues. You could throw the Packers in there because, you add one player from, the Lone Star State that came over. Yeah, instantly made you a top five defense. Tampa Bay has a decent defense. Buffalo, when they show up, have a decent defense. I think top five defense in the league for the Rams.
So what was a great, exciting game shows how committed both these teams are and possibly could be meeting in the playoffs. Sticking on the West Coast, the return of Brock Purdy to the San Francisco 49ers, who came in and trounced the very sloppy Arizona Cardinals 41-22. Purdy 19-26 for 200 yards and 3 touchdowns. Christian McCaffrey doing it again, 81 yards and 2 touchdowns. And George Kittle loving the fact that Brock Purdy's back, 67 yards and 2 touchdowns himself. As for the Cardinals, Brissett, they got crushed. Brissett threw the ball almost 60 times for 452 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. All I think this does for the Cardinals, I mean, besides the win for San Francisco, we know what San Francisco did. Pat, you kind of led into this in the beginning when we were talking about the Jets. It's kind of showing what your team is, what you have in it. And I think that's what Jacoby Brissett is doing. It's getting they're going to lose. They're faithful to him, but he's still making sure plays are being made by showing of the stats.
That comes from his time in New England, where, you were under arguably the greatest head coach in modern day, or NFL history, we'll go with, in Bill Belichick, where, and also you were under the tutelage of Tom Brady. So, there's hope there for Brissett. And Brissett has that mentality, hey, we're not going to give up here. We're going to try to make a comeback and do something. Granted, it's Arizona, and Arizona's a dumpster fire on the side of itself, but whether Kyler Murray wants to be a quarterback or not is the question. No offense to Murray, but is what it is.
We know the situation with Kyler Murray. He's currently on IR and will be there for the next 3 weeks. The question will be is, what is Arizona going to do with Kyler Murray? Because it's clearly becoming more and more evident that they're ready to move on from him.
All I'm saying is, if you move on, Murray, there's a team in Jersey that might want you. No. I'm just saying, New Jersey, the Jets, maybe,
or Miami, the Dolphins.
Nah, they're not done with Tua yet. I think there's still hope for Tua.
Poor guy's head is more scrambled than eggs in the morning.
Well, you know what? That's your O-line not protecting you.
Yeah. Well, we will see what happens moving on. Moving on to what should have been really the lowest scoring game with arguably 2 great defenses on the field. The Baltimore Ravens played the Cleveland Browns, and even though the Cleveland Browns have only won 2 games, their defense is what makes the games worth watching. Meaning the Cleveland Browns. Baltimore Ravens for Lamar Jackson, 14-25, 193 yards and 2 interceptions. Derrick Henry, 18 carries, 103 yards, and Zay Flowers, 78 yards on receptions. And then it wasn't a pass from Lamar. It wasn't a run from Henry. It was actually a rush from Mark Andrews that actually won this game. The Cleveland Browns didn't start with the loss of Dylan Gabriel. Cleveland fans finally got to see the emergence of Shedeur Sanders. And he stunk up the entire field. I don't think that's fair to say this kid's done already. I think he's getting a little bit of a bad rap.
Unfortunately, when you play for the Browns, you're going to get caca-oned real quick. And, when you're this, new terminology here, when you think your caca don't stink, sometimes a reality check is needed. And when you're hyped up because of your father was the head coach of the college you went to, Sometimes just a little bit of a little reality check is needed. Little super kick to the face, little punch to the face, little knockout punch to the face, just to bring you down a little bit and made you think, oh, maybe I do need to work on all this, and maybe I can be an NFL quarterback someday. I'm not saying his time in the NFL is done, because you're thrown into a situation where if Cleveland's getting blown out, just throw Sanders in there. Who cares? Then that's where you see where potential is needed. Cleveland, just starting
Right.
the rest of the season. You're not going to the playoffs. Just fine. So Jerry, if you think you can, you think you can cut the mustard in here. Let's see you do it. Prove us wrong. Prove us that we didn't make you a late round pick. I think it was a late second round pick or whatever he was. But regardless,
Dillon Gabriel is in the concussion protocol. That will leave Shedeur Sanders at the top, looking to start next week, depending on where Dillon Gabriel is. The question here for the Baltimore Ravens is since Lamar Jackson has come back, his passing game has been down. I mean, yes, the Cleveland Browns have a great secondary, but it looks like they're going back to the old ground and pound instead of letting Jackson air the ball out.
well, when you're hurt and you come back, maybe you weren't ready.
That's the question. Did they rush Lamar Jackson back? Because you're sitting 5-5, you still have a good chance of making the playoffs, but at what cost? There's no more bye week for you. You've already had it, so you got to think what happens to players in garbage time and whatnot, and when you have to save and when you have to move. Sorry, Dan Quinn, you should have pulled Jaden Daniels a lot earlier. First mistake he made. Sticking with the AFC West, and probably was one of the second most exciting games, was the Denver Broncos faced off against the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Denver Broncos come out ahead and go to 9-2, winning 22-19. Let's start off with Bo Nix. No touchdowns on the day, but 24, 37, 295. They kept the ball mostly in the air. RJ Harvey only had 30 yards on the ground, as J.K. Dobbins was lost for the season last week. Troy Franklin for Denver, 4 receptions, 84 yards. Patrick Mahomes, 29 of 45, 276, a touchdown and a pick. And Travis Kelce having his best game this season with 9 receptions for 91 and a touchdown. Pat, have we finally seen the end of the KC dynasty? Is this it?
I need to look up a stat real quick. I want to see something, but we might be seeing the end of the dynasty, and I think everyone in the NFL, minus Chiefs fans, are happy because I think Chiefs fans are angry because we want to go to the 4th straight Super Bowl. We want to make whatever appearance would be in the AFC Championship game. For the record, whatever it is. So. Oh, okay. Never mind. I thought they got engaged later. I was gonna say, since the engagement of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, granted they got engaged on August 26th, so before the NFL season started, I was gonna say, since they got engaged, the Chiefs are this and this. But we can still say the Chiefs' record speaks for itself. The Chiefs finally are coming down the Everest peak. And I'm in, and I because
And one of the things you have to wonder is the extent of how bad this defense is going to look and how bad this defense is not being able to hold teams. Now, Denver Broncos, probably the best defense in football, did give up let 19 points get in, and you don't see that usually happen. What we do normally see is, a much stronger Kansas City Chiefs team, and I think we are finally starting to see the end of that team as it is slowly starting to crumble. The Denver Broncos moved to 9-2, and they are just a force to be absolutely reckoned with. Other note, Excuse me. Will Lutz sticks on a great streak with, again, straight field goals, no issues, no problems. Excuse me. Sorry, I have lost my cohort. I had to switch my notes. I apologize. Give me 1/2 second. He decided to leave. With the last game up on the recap here, we have the Detroit Lions versus the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia Eagles, again, squeak out a game, squeak out a game 19 to 16 to 9 over the Detroit Lions, moving the Detroit Lions down to 6-4 on the season. Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, 14 to 28, 135. Saquon Barkley, 26 carries, 83 yards. And again, AJ Brown doing absolutely jack crap. Jared Goff, 14 to 37, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Jamar Gibbs, 39 yards rushing, but also 107 yards receiving. Welcome back, Danny Boy Reginald, as Patch will be back in a moment or two.
There he is.
And there he is. As Patch is returning back here into the Philadelphia Eagles Detroit Lions game. This was a big loss for the Detroit Lions. Forget about the win for the Eagles. This was a big loss for the Detroit Lions. And as Patch and I have been talking, because this NFC North is as good as is advertised. Okay, between the Packers, between the Lions, between the Bears, who are, impressing, and the Vikings are not out of it yet. But I would say this is more of an important loss than a win here, Patch. What do you think?
For what? And real quick, Shadir Sanders will start for the Browns this Sunday.
Okay, so Shadir is starting, and we wish him luck. So on this game, Patch, was it a bigger win for the Eagles or a bigger loss for the Lions?
Bigger win for the Eagles. Eagles
Okay.
needed this win because now it proves, you can beat a super heavyweight.
Okay.
Because, there was talk to the Eagles, they were fluttering a little bit between, some of their games. But now, now that you got a big, not that divisional win, big conference win. Now it proves, okay, if this comes down to us again, there's that knockout where, okay, we have the confidence that we can beat these guys when it matters. Granted, any regular season game matters in any situation, but when it comes time to the playoffs, if you're both in a situation where you're going to face off against each other, that confidence is there to knock out a heavyweight.
Dan, more important loss for the Lions or a bigger win for the Eagles?
This is a tough one for Detroit. We're seeing a lot of holes offensively. Jared Goff certainly has not been as good as he was last year. The offense in general really hasn't been as good as last year. We've seen a lot of struggles there. It's very obvious that the Lions have to rely on the defense to make big plays. And when you face teams like the Eagles, who can absolutely kill you offensively, and no, they didn't quite do that Sunday night, but they did just enough to beat them. You're gonna have a lot of problems. The defense has to basically play a near perfect game, and as you know, that is a very, very unfair thing to ask. You know, and this is where I get on Dan Campbell, um, Lions front office and all that stuff for not necessarily building, even though like most of the same team is here from last year, for not necessarily having the pieces ready to go, to win games. And it's a problem.
So we're looking at the Philadelphia Eagles coming out of the win, 8-2. Will face off against the Dallas Cowboys this week, upcoming Sunday. This really is the make or break game for the Dallas Cowboys coming up. This will, if Dallas wins this game, the biggest little word in the dictionary, if Dallas can pull out a win, Dallas has a chance at making a run to make a wild card spot. I do not think with what Dallas has up against the next four games, being Dallas has Philadelphia, followed by KC, then followed by Detroit. That is a hard 3 games.
Hmm.
For Dallas to even think they have to win 2 out of those 4. And they've won the Raiders game, the one they should have won. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night for Thursday Night Gridiron with Dan and Bill. I will hopefully most likely be there. Friday, SIP will be live with Dan and Bill. Sunday morning, Sunday Sideline Report. Guess what? Dan will be there as well, along with me and most likely Mike Rifkin. Dan, where can they find us on the socials?
At Cincinnati Real, Facebook and X. And then of course, you know, follow us on YouTube, subscribe, um, like any of our videos, hit that button for notifications, and then just continue following the network, sportscitynetwork.com for your latest blogs. This guy's writing too.
Hey, the old ops guy, we just got the basketball writing going. We got football writing going. We got wrestling writing going. We got hockey writing going. We're gonna have more baseball writing going as the winter meetings are just about to get started, but we're not talking that. As for us here at the Sports Insanity Network, for Mark Oldops, Guy Halpern, Vice President Danny Boy Reginald, and paused in and paused out President Lawrence Patchman Lang. I want to thank you for tuning in to Week 11 recap. We will be here live tomorrow.
Yeah, Shador Sanders is making his first start as a Brown.
Note, good luck to Shador. I truly hope, because I have his autographed rookie football cards here, so that they could use to go up. So Shador do some good.
Yeah, see what he can do. Look, I know Dylan Gabriel's hurt and stuff, but he's also not that great. So let's see what he could do about that.
And we'll see how that all works out for excuse me. All that whole works out for Shador with Cleveland. For Mark Oldops, Guy Halpern, Vice President Danny Boy Reginald. We'll catch you on the flip side.